In this video, I'm going to attempt to beat Pokemon White 2 with an insanely hard rule set using only ground types. The ground type lines introduced in Gen 5 are by far some of the coolest. Not only that, but White 2 also includes some fan favorites from previous generations. So our team is going to be bussin', and you definitely don't want to miss this one. Before we get into it, I just want to quickly show the rules for this challenge up on the screen. You can pause here if you're interested. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. Our journey kicks off in our home in the America-based Unova region. And almost immediately, we meet up with Professor Bianca and we're presented with our choice of starter. For this run, you can't get a ground type until after the second gym, so we use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to sub in Sandshrew for Tepig. This means both that we will get a ground type before the second gym, and also that our rival Hugh will choose Dewott as his starter, which will be super effective against all our ground types and really annoying to deal with throughout this entire run. After quickly dispatching Hugh and heading through the rest of the beginning of the game, we run into Team Plasma for the first time. I'm not really sure what kind of Pokemon he mistakes us for, but he throws a Pokeball at us like he's trying to catch us. These guys don't seem too bright. But anyway, within a few minutes, we're actually heading into the first gym. The beginning of this game is relatively painless. After beating up a couple other kids on the schoolyard, we're finally ready to challenge the gym leader, Charon. And honestly, early game, Sandshrew is such a defensive beast that it makes this gym pretty trivial. We go for a defense curl and then just set up a rollout, which sweeps the Patrat and then takes out the Lillipup. I know I said it was a defensive beast, but that was actually more offense. My bad. From here, it's just a quick walk over to Burbank City where the next gym is waiting for us. As we enter the city, we do actually overhear Roxy berating her own father for wanting to follow his dreams and be a star at Pokestar Studios. And I'm not judging, it just seems like kind of a weird thing to be really mad about. And as she storms off, she makes eye contact with us. She definitely knows we were eavesdropping. Hopefully she doesn't recognize us when we go in to challenge the gym. Yeah, we're probably just gonna have to embrace the awkwardness here. As we head in to challenge Roxy, we are greeted by one of the best Pokemon songs of all time, which for your listening pleasure is on in the background. Roxy does specialize in poison types, which traditionally are weak to ground, but unfortunately her lead Coughing has Levitate, so it's immune to ground type moves, and her ace is a Whirlipede, which has a bug dual type, which means that ground moves are going to hit neutral on it. Anyway, it's not really too big of a deal because we did teach Return to Sandshrew, and our friendship is pretty high because it's our only Pokemon, so we're able to take out the Coughing with 2 returns, and then we start working on the Whirlipede. It gets a couple of Venishocks on us, and it gets us pretty low because it hits a poison point as well, but our final return is able to take it out, and we just squeak out of the gym without losing Sandshrew. From here, we have a quick romp through Pokestar Studios, then we head off to the Big Apple itself, Castelia City, and we're finally able to add another member to our team, a Sandile, which we do catch, and since it's a boy, we nickname it Mandile. At this point, we're ready to go challenge the gym, but surprise, surprise, the gym leader's not home. So we team up with Hugh to go find him. And we figure he's a normal guy, right? So he's probably hanging out where every normal guy does, alone down in the sewers under the city. Amazingly enough, we do actually find him there. And honestly, after heading into his spider and clown infested gym, it makes a lot of sense why Burgh was hanging out in the sewers alone. As we're making our way through the gym, Sandshrew actually evolves into a Sandslash. This evolution should be really handy for Burgh because we have kind of a type disadvantage against him, especially with his ace Leavanny, who's grass bug and is pretty dangerous for our team at this point. Now we're finally ready to head up and challenge the spooky Spider King himself, Burgh. He leads with Swadloon and we lead with Sandslash. Honestly, I'm gonna level with you. This fight really boils down to whether or not we miss our rollouts. And after setting up Defense Curl on the first turn to double rollouts damage, we start playing Rollout Roulette, which we immediately lose on the first turn with an instant miss. Luckily, our next rollout does hit, and it's a crit, which takes out the Swadloon. Next up, he sends in his ace Leavanny, who takes us down to about half HP with the Razor Leaf. We land a rollout, but it just barely doesn't kill. Thankfully, on the next turn, we are able to live another Razor Leaf and finish it off with another rollout. Finally, he sends in his Dwebble, and even though it does have Sturdy, it's not quite enough to save it, and it goes down after a couple rollouts. With Burgh defeated, we're able to head north and into the Desert Resort and Relic Castle, where we find ourselves engulfed in a giant maw of sand. They really should put handrails around those or something. Oh, we're also able to find our next catch, Trapinch. This thing is going to be crucial to the success of our team, mainly because it evolves into Flygon, which has a Dragon Ground dual type, which makes it one of our only answers to water types. We catch this thing and nickname it Clapper for some reason. Then we make our way up to Nimbasa City and make a quick stop at the indoor amusement park before heading in to challenge the next gym. And as we're fighting our way through the gym trainers, Sandile actually evolves into a Crocorock, which is probably going to make Ellis's electric types even more of a joke than they already were going to be. At least she knows how to put on a show. I mean, dang. As you're probably aware, ground type is super effective against electric type and is immune to it as well, which does mean that none of Ellis's Pokemon can use her signature move Volt Switch, meaning the only move that this Emolga can actually hit Crocorock with is Quick Attack. Unfortunately, we do get paralyzed by its ability Static, which is a little bit annoying because we did want to use Moxie to boost our attack and sweep the whole team with Crocorock. Unfortunately, now we're going to have to swap probably. From here, we take out the Emolga with Assurance, and she sends in her Flaffy. We try to hit it with Dig, but we get paralyzed in the process. We try again, paralyzed again. There's no way we're going to be hitting this thing. And at this point, Krokorok is a little bit too low, so we swap in Sand Slash. The next turn, we hit this thing with a Dig, and it takes it out. But unfortunately, we get insta-paralyzed by its static ability. Our health is pretty high though, so we should be fine because she's down to just her Ace Zebstrika. We try for a Dig, which thankfully connects through paralysis, and it takes it out in one hit. And just like that, that's 4 gems down. From here, we head across the Driftveil drawbridge, through Driftveil City, and then up into the Chargestone Cave, where we pick up our next catch, a Drillbur, which we immediately catch and nickname Bill. And this thing does evolve at level 31, so we're instantly able to evolve it into an Excadrill. Excadrill is actually the reason why I wanted to do this run. I had never used one before, and I love this Pokemon. After using it, it's insanely strong. Would definitely recommend. From here, we're able to head straight into the Driftveil Gym, where we get to have a mirror matchup against the Ground-type trainer and owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome, Clay. To kick this Spider-Man meme of a Pokemon battle off, we lead with Krokorok, and he leads with Krokorok. Before the battle, we had taught our Krokorok Low Sweep at the Move Tutor, which is a fighting-type move and hits 2 of his Pokemon super effectively. We hit it with a Low Sweep, which does about half of its health. Luckily, his Krokorok goes for a Torment on the next turn, so we don't take any more damage, and we're able to take it out with another Low Sweep. And Krokorok's ability Moxie gives it an attack boost going into the Sand Slash. The Sand Slash hits us with a Crush Claw, which lowers our defense, and we hit it with an Assurance that does almost no damage at all. With our health low and our defense lowered, we decide to bring in Sand Slash. And over the next 2 turns, we're able to take out his Sand Slash with a couple digs. Now he's down to just his Ace Excadrill. We are a little bit worried about losing Sand Slash here because our defense is lowered. Luckily, his Slash does not do enough damage to take us out, and we're able to one-shot it with Dig. And finally, we've proven once and for all that we are Unova's alpha Ground-type trainer. With Clay defeated, we head into the Relic Passage and pick up our next catch, an Onix. We actually could have accessed the Relic Passage through the sewers earlier, but I forgot. Better late than never. We catch this thing and nickname it Ponix. We head through the Relic Passage and into Volcarona's room in the Relic Castle, where we pick up a ball toy, which we also catch and nickname Clay Boy. And now with our full stack team of 6, we've absolutely trounced the Driftveil Pokemon tournament, humiliating Colress along the way. And as we're heading out towards Mistelton City, we're able to evolve Trapinch into a Vibrava, Ball Toy into a Claydol, and we also use the Universal Randomizer to allow trade evolutions. So we pick up the Metal Coat in Chargestone Cave, and then use that to evolve Onix into a Steelix. All 3 of these upgrades are huge, and they are going to be crucial because the next gym is going to be pretty tough for us. We make our way to Mistelton City and then into the Mistelton Gym, which for some reason this gym doubles as a wind tunnel, and I have no idea who thought that was a good idea. Can't lose to gym challengers if they die on the way to challenge you, I guess. After fighting our way through this absolute death trap, we finally arrive at the end where we're able to challenge Skyla. Now Skyla does specialize in flying types, but her ace is a Swano, which is a water flying type and will hit super hard on every member of our team, so we have to be very careful in this fight. Luckily, our team does have a lot of rock coverage, which is super effective against flying types, but as you may be aware, strong rock type moves are pretty inaccurate. So to combat this, we lead with Excadrill and start setting up Hone Claws to make sure that our rock type moves land. Because if we get to Skyla's Swanna and then we miss a move, that is certain death for any member of our team. Before the fight, we'd also given the Excadrill leftovers, so we weave in Protect so that we can heal in between turns of Hone Claws. Eventually, we get to +4 on attack and accuracy, and we decide that's probably enough. So we put the Swoobat out of its misery with a Rock Slide. From here, she sends in her Ace Swanna, and we go for a Protect to get a little heal from leftovers, which ends up being a big deal because her Bubble Beam almost takes us out. It doesn't. Thankfully, we hang on and we take out the Swanna with a Rock Slide. Finally, she's down to just her Skarmory. We go for Protect on the first turn because we're expecting an attack, but that allows it to get a free agility off. Now it outspeeds, but we make a ballsy call to go for a Rock Slide anyway. Luckily, we don't lose our Excadrill to a Steel Wing, and we use Protect on the next turn to heal up a little bit more. And then we make another ballsy call. We know a non-crit won't kill us, so we just send it. Thankfully, the Skarmory doesn't crit us with Steel Wing, and we take it out with a Rock Slide, and that's 5 gems down. And now with the level cap raise, we're able to evolve Krokorok into a Crocodile. And from here, we head out to the scariest route in this game, Route 7. This route has flying spinning clowns who chase you around, fungus mimicking items on the ground and attacking you, weird creepy twin girls, a tower full of ghosts, and random triple battles, all pure nightmare fuel. Thankfully, we make it out of there alive, and Skyla gives us a lift across the region to Lentimus Town, where we head just outside the town and get another encounter, a Nummel, which we catch and nickname Bub, and then immediately evolve into a Camerupt. From here, we head through Reversal Mountain and then arrive in Undella Town, where Hugh challenges us to our first rival battle in a while. His team is fully evolved now, and it's going to be interesting to see how we stack up against it. He leads with Unpheasant, and we lead with Excadrill. And Excadrill is largely unbothered by this horrendously ugly bird. So we're able to set up a Hone Claws. We were planning on going for a couple Swords Dances, but unfortunately we can't do that because it does land a taunt on us on the first turn. But we can't risk going up against the Samurott without boosted attack because it will take out our whole team. So we start using Earthquakes, which don't affect the Unpheasant until the taunt wears off. With the taunt gone, we're free to set up a Swords Dance, or two. I don't know. We really just don't want to mess around with this Samurott. With our attack at +5, we take out the Unpheasant with the Rock Slide. At this point, Hugh obviously sends in his Ace Samurott, who uses an Aqua Jet on us, and it does way more damage than we were expecting. Luckily, it doesn't crit, and we're able to take it out with one hit from Earthquake. Finally, he's down to just a Simisage, who goes down to a single Rock Slide. Like I said, Excadrill, pretty insane. As we're working our way to the next town, Vibrava actually evolves into a Flygon, and in its final form, this thing can finally start to be useful and not just a bench warmer. As we're crossing the village bridge, we unfortunately have to hand out an L to this old man who apparently is an undefeated Pokemon trainer. And I do feel bad beating up the elderly, but you kind of asked for it, right? Anyway, as we're heading into Opelucid City, we get our next encounter, a Gligar, which we do end up catching and nicknaming Giggler. Now, Gligar by itself is pretty good, but once we get Waterfall and we're able to evolve it into a Gliscor, this thing becomes an absolute monster. From here, we head into the Opelucid City gym, where we're greeted by another huge death trap contraption. Can you imagine being a trainer here and just standing over the big dark void all day? Haunting. We fight our way through the existential tower and finally get to butt heads with Drayden, the dragon type gym leader. Drayden's team is relatively tame except for his ace Haxorus, who has Dragon Dance and can set up and just completely sweep any team. Also, everyone on his team knows Dragon Tail, which swaps out your Pokemon and makes it really hard to set up on him and guarantee that you can take out his Haxorus. So it's a little bit of a dangerous fight. We lead with Crocodile against his Druddigon, and we take a big revenge on the first turn and then hit it with a Crunch, which doesn't do even half, and then we hit it with another Crunch, which takes it into heal range. But thankfully we read the heal and we hit it with a Crunch on the same turn, which takes it down to about half because we lowered its defense on the previous turn. This allows us to outspeed and take it out with a Crunch on the following turn. My plan here was to use Moxie to boost our attack and hopefully have enough attack to take the Haxorus out at the end of this fight, which I will admit is a pretty half-baked idea, especially because our Crunch doesn't even one-shot the Flygon when we're +1 attack. He uses a Dragon Tail, which phases us out and brings in our Excadrill, which we think should be able to finish this Flygon off with a Rock Slide, right? It doesn't, and it takes big damage from an Earth Power from Flygon. We definitely don't want to risk losing Excadrill, so we swap him out and bring in Flygon because we read an Earth Power and Levitate makes that miss. Unfortunately, since we do have a speed down nature on our Flygon, we get outsped by his Flygon and take a critical Crunch, but we are able to finish it off, thankfully. So now we're in trouble, right? Because we have a weakened Pokemon in against his Haxorus, and we have to waste a turn to swap the Steelix. Thankfully, he does go for a Dragon Tail because he sees the super effective hit on Flygon, and that phases out Steelix and brings in Crocodile. And even though Crocodile is low, we're too scared about this thing getting Dragon Dances set up and sweeping our team, so we have to go for a Crunch here, which ends up losing us Crocodile. At this point, we decide to swap into Claydol because we believe it is tanky enough to take a +1 hit from the Haxorus on the next turn if it sets up Dragon Dance, which it does, and we do end up tanking the hit, and we take this Haxorus out with 2 Psychics. That is always a weird fight. As we're exiting the gym, Team Plasma literally opens fire on this town. And I've never really thought about this before, but where is the government in Pokemon? Why aren't they doing anything about this blatant terrorist attack? Anyway, luckily the Pokemon Center is still in full working order despite the bombs dropped on the city, and we're able to heal up and then dispatch the Team Plasma grunts. And after saving yet another city, we take a little bit of personal time and have a nice walk through the Marine Tube, one of my favorite areas in any Pokemon game. And on the other side of the tunnel, we arrive in Humalao City, where we start gearing up for the final gym, where the gym leader Marlon specializes in water types, making it the biggest challenge of this entire run. That's also not even considering the fact that this guy has superpowers like Aquaman. But after a long planning session, we feel confident that we're ready to go in and take him on. He leads with Caracosta and we lead with Flygon. This Caracosta is scary because it does have Sturdy and Shell Smash, so it's 100% guaranteed to get off a Shell Smash. Luckily, Flygon still outspeeds the Caracosta after the Shell Smash, and after Marlon uses a heal, we're able to take it out with 2 Earth Powers. Next up, he sends in his Wailord, and we take the first turn to set up a Sandstorm to start getting some good chip damage on it, while also setting up good synergy with the rest of our team because Gligar has Sand Veil and Excadrill has Sand Force. Unfortunately, we get burned by Scald on the very first turn this Wailord is in, so we're forced to swap to Excadrill. This isn't all bad though, because this was part of our plan. And we get insanely lucky with the Wailord going for an amnesia on the turn that we swap. So now with the chip damage from Sandstorm and the 30% boost in damage from Sandforce, we're able to take out the Wailord in one Earthquake. Finally, he sends in the last menace on his team, Jellicent, who we know we outspeed, and we're able to take it out with a Sandforce boosted Earthquake. That was pretty optimal RNG right there, I'm not gonna lie. This is the point in the game where a better Nuzlocker would head into the giant chasm and catch a Mamoswine. But I, in my infinite wisdom, missed that encounter, so we don't get one. Unfortunate, because Mamoswine's one of my favorites. My sincerest apologies to everyone out there in the Mamoswine gang. And with all 8 gym badges secured, we can finally focus on taking out Team Plasma. With the help of our good friend Aquaman, we're able to infiltrate their frigate. But as adults do in Pokemon games, that's about all the help he offers.
Bye bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!
I'll spare you having to watch me figure out 2 rounds of Team Plasma puzzles. Eventually, we do make our way into the control room of the frigate, where we can challenge Colress to our final battle. And normally this is a tough fight, but he only has steel types on his team, so come on. He leads with a Magneton who does have sturdy, so it is able to hit us with a flash cannon on the first turn, which does do more damage than I was expecting it to do, but nothing to worry about, especially since our Flygon is equipped with Roost and leftovers for this fight. From here, Colress heals it up, but we're able to take it out with 2 attacks afterwards. Next up, he sends in his Magnezone, who does have sturdy as well and knows Explosion, but we're pretty confident that even if it goes for Explosion, which it does, Flygon should be fine. Thankfully, there's no crit there. Yes. Next up, he sends in his Ace Clink Clang, and this thing is holding an air balloon, which makes it immune to ground type moves until it takes damage. So we decide to go for a Roost. It hits us with a beefy Giga Impact, which we do survive, and we go for another Roost on the next turn to heal up and be sure that we don't get taken out by a rogue move. And then we use Fly to pop its air balloon. The next turn, it does outspeed us because it has set up Shift Gear on the previous turn, but fortunately, it goes for another Shift Gear for some reason, and we're able to take it out with an Earth Power. Next up, he sends in Medang, who does manage to live through 1 Earth Power, but goes down to the second one. No big deal here. Finally, he's down to his last Pokemon, Behem, who's his only non-steel type and kind of a beast, honestly. We hit it with a Fly, which does pretty decent damage to it. Unfortunately, it hits us with a Calm Mind boosted Psychic, which leaves Flygon pretty low. So we're forced to swap it out. It doesn't get the clean sweep, I know. Sad. From here, we end up bringing in Claydol because we're anticipating another Psychic. Unfortunately, it goes for an Energy Ball, which hits Claydol super effectively and leaves it pretty low. So we do end up making a swap to Bill, who does resist Energy Ball because of its Steel dual type, and it's able to outspeed and take it out with 2 Earthquakes. With Colress taken out, we head into the showdown with the big bad himself, Ghetsis. But before we do that, we have to take on Kyurem, who just finished up doing his best Majin Buu impression by turning Reshiram into a snack and eating him. He also is a Dragon Ice dual type, which is a bit worrisome for our team for sure. Luckily, since he is technically a wild Pokemon, we are able to take him out since he goes for Dragon Breath instead of his signature Ice move, which definitely would have taken Bill out. And with that taken care of, we finally get to take on Ghetsis, who is always an interesting fight because his team is very well rounded and quite strong. He leads with Cofagrigus, so we lead with Bill. Bill's dual steel type makes it immune to toxic, which is what this Cofagrigus really wants to do. So it starts hitting us with Shadow Balls, which don't really do too much damage to Excadrill, thankfully, and allow us to get +6 attack using Sword Stance. Once we're safely at +6, we take it out with an Earthquake. Next up, he sends in a Seismitoad, who we outspeed and take out with an Earthquake as well. Next up on the chopping block is his Drapion, who goes down to its one weakness, Earthquake. From here, he sends in Electros, who has both Levitate, making it immune to Earthquake, and Flamethrower, so we swap in Flygon. On the next turn, we hit the Electros with a Dragon Claw, which does not do enough damage, and it hits us with an Acrobatics, which crits. Fortunately, we do outspeed and have Roost, so we use Roost to heal up and then take it out with a second Dragon Claw. Next up, he sends in his Ace Hydreigon, which unfortunately outspeeds Flygon, so we swap in Steelix, who tanks a Dragon Rush. We end up trading a few Dragon Rushes for a few Iron Heads, and finally, we're able to finish this thing off. Finally, he's down to his last Pokemon, Toxicroak, so we bring in Giggler, who's just barely not able to take it out with an Acrobatics, but on the next turn, we finish it off anyway. It's always a blessing to come out of the Ghetsis fight with a full team. And with the world sufficiently saved, we head to the entrance of Victory Road. Here we're able to grab the HM for Waterfall, which we use to go grab the Razor Fang, which allows us to evolve Gligar into Gliscor. We work our way through Victory Road, and then we just have one final battle against Hugh remaining before we're able to take on the Elite Four. He leads with Unfezant and we lead with Gliscor. On the first turn, we go for a Swords Dance, and then the Unfezant hits us with a Swagger, which also boosts our attack, but confuses us. Luckily, we had given our Gliscor a Lumberry before this fight for this exact moment. So with our attack at +4 and our confusion cured, we take out the Unpheasant with an acrobatics. Next up, he sends in his Samurott, who we promptly one-shot with an acrobatics as well. And from here, it's a clean sweep. We take out his Bouffalant in one hit, then he sends in his Simisage, who does outspeed us and hit us with an energy ball that doesn't crit, so it goes down to an acrobatics as well. I guess it wasn't the cleanest sweep, but you get what I'm saying. From here, we're finally able to head into the Pokemon League. And in this game, you can take on the Elite Four in any order that you choose. So first, we go for the fighting type trainer, Marshall. And if you paid attention during the last fight, this one's gonna look awfully similar to you. We set up a Swords Dance against his Throw, who misses a Rock Tomb on the first turn and then goes down to an acrobatics. Next up is his Ace Conkeldurr, who promptly meets the same fate. Same with his Mind Shao, but his last Pokemon Sock does have Sturdy, so it does take 2 hits instead of 1. Whew, that was a tough one. Next, we have to take on the Psychic type trainer, Caitlin, who in the most Aphrodite-esque way spawns herself out of a flower. For this fight, we lead with Bill, who promptly sets up 3 Swords Dances. We do get hit by a Yawn from Musharna, but we've given it a Lumberry just for this exact situation. So we're able to get our +6 attack set up on the turn that we fall asleep, and then instantly wake up and sweep the entire team. Our attack of choice is the bug type move X-Scissor, which hits her whole team super effectively and takes out the Musharna, the Reuniclus, Sigilif, and Gothitelle all in one hit. That was more of a pronunciation test than a battle, honestly. Next up, we head to take on the Dark type trainer, Grimsley. For this fight, we lead with Flygon against his Liepard. We take a Fake Out on the first turn, and then a Night Slash, and finally, we're able to hit it with a U-turn and then swap out. Doesn't quite finish off the Liepard, but it does give us an opportunity to get a free switch into Gligar. From here, Grimsley uses a full restore, and we hit the Liepard with an X-Scissor, and it just doesn't quite take it out. Next turn, we go for another X-Scissor, we tank a Night Slash, and then finish it off. From here, he sends in Scrafty, who is just barely able to hang on through an acrobatics, and it hits us with a Crunch. Luckily, it doesn't do too much damage, and we're able to finish it off with another acrobatics on the following turn. Next up is his Crocodile, who, even though it hits and Intimidate on us, still goes down to a critical X-Scissor. Finally, he's down to just his Ace Bisharp, so we send in Bub, because we want to have an opportunity for him to do something. But it just takes way too much damage from a Night Slash on the first turn, so we bring in an actual good Pokemon, Steelix, who's able to tank a bunch of Night Slashes and then finally finish this thing off with a couple digs. Finally, we're just down to the last trainer, Chantal, who specializes in ghost types and does not give an F that spooky season is over. Her lead is Cofagrigus, so we lead with Flygon. And on the first turn, we get a really lucky crit with our Earth Power, but it just barely doesn't take out this tanky beast, and it fires back with a crit of its own with Shadow Ball. Over the next few turns, we use a combination of Roost, Protect, and Leftovers to heal up. I'll spare you. We do get burned with Will-O-Wisp along the way though, which is a little bit annoying, but eventually we're able to take out the Cofagrigus with Earth Power. Next up, she sends in her Golurk, so we send in Gliscor. After hitting with an Earthquake that didn't quite kill, we remembered that our plan was to set up max attack with Swords Dance on Gliscor. So we do just that. Using Roost and Swords Dance, we max out our attack. Thank goodness that Earthquake didn't kill so I could remember my plan. With max attack set up, we go for one final Swords Dance just to flex on him a little bit. Then we put this Golurk out of its misery with an Acrobatics. Next up, she sends in her Ace Chandelure, who we take out in one hit with Acrobatics. Unfortunately, we get a burn from Flame Body, which is going to have our attack and could be a problem against the Drifblim. We don't want to risk Gliscor not killing, so we bring Bub back in to give him a chance to do something for once. Naturally, he takes too much damage on the first turn he's in, and we have to swap to an actual good Pokemon, Steelix, who sets up a Sandstorm and takes out the Drifblim over the next few turns. With all 4 members defeated, we ascend up this comically long staircase to face off against the champion Iris, who, in my opinion, has the best champion room of all time. Man, I love Black and White too. Let me tell you, Iris's team is nowhere near as easy as the other members of the Elite Four. This is a serious challenge. Case in point, her first Pokemon is a fully evolved pseudo-legendary of this game. We lead with Flygon, who tanks a Dragon Pulse and then fires back with a Dragon Gem boosted Dragon Claw, which thankfully is enough to take this thing out. Next, she sends in the biggest problem for our team, her Lapras. And since this is the last battle, we end up sacking Flygon in order to set up a Sandstorm, a hard but necessary sacrifice. This gives us a free swap into Bill, who may be able to high roll and take this thing out with an Earthquake. It doesn't quite do enough damage, so Bill ends up taking a Surf to the Dome, which he barely holds on through. The next turn, we know Iris is going to go for a full restore, so we take the opportunity to set up a Swords Dance. And now with our attack doubled, Earthquake is more than enough to finish off the Lapras on the next turn. From here, Iris sends in her Dredagon, who goes down to an Earthquake, pretty big non-factor. Next up is her Aggron, who's 4 times weak to ground moves, so I'm not really sure what the AI was going for here, but it goes down to an Earthquake. Next up, she sends in her Haxorus, and Bonehead Quinn forgot the fact that Haxorus outspeeds Excadrill, so it gets taken out by an Earthquake. RIP, buddy, you did well. Our next move is to bring in Giggler, who unfortunately also gets outsped and takes pretty decent damage from Dual Chop. We fire back with an Acrobatics and it doesn't quite do the damage that we're looking for, but we don't really have any other choice other than to stay in, take another Dual Chop, and hope for a crit. We don't get the crit on the next turn, so we swap in Bub, so he can actually make a contribution for once. Nope, just kidding, he just dies for no reason. Look, it was the very end of the run, I was tired, okay? From here, we take our free swap into Steelix, who tanks an Earthquake and finishes off the Haxorus with an Iron Head. Finally, Iris is down to just her last Pokemon, Archeops, who were able to get down into Defeatist territory with an Iron Head on the first turn, and then finish it off with an Iron Head on the second turn. And just like that, we've become the new champion of the Unova region using only ground types. Thanks for watching, till next time.